Good morning, everyone. This is Fred Lewis. This is MJ Network. MJ, in memory of my sister Marcia Joyce that sent me on this journey a long time ago. And David Putnam is here. Uh, I, we have Imogene's Grand Fiasco. I have two of these, by the way. And the Obsessions of Harvey Usher. This one was different.
Yes, it
And
was. It's a
yeah,
standalone.
I know. I was thinking that maybe you're going to unstand alone him and bring him back again.
Huh.
But Imogene's great. So let me put my reading glasses so I can actually see what I'm doing. Okay. The one thing I love about it is that the characters are older, and it proves that age doesn't matter. People just remember I said that. And how did you create her? Because I'm so like her. I don't stop at anything until I get what I want done.
Yeah, I want to do something different than my
Yeah.
Dave Beckett and my Bruno Johnson series. So I created a character who was 65 years old, and she commits a murder and goes to prison, and she doesn't think she's guilty, and she gets out and she's on parole, and she has to be gainfully employed while she's dodging the parole, trying to send her back to prison. And I took the voice directly from my grandmother. So the things that Imogene says are things that my grandmother said.
Well, all I know is that one grandmother would never let me speak out like that. And my father's mother, but my father always taught me, yes, something to say it however you want. If they don't like it, too bad. And go after what you want. So, what happens in our living room and why? And she has a job at a pawn shop. And that's unique too because she gets in trouble a lot, doesn't she?
Yeah, it
I love
seems every
her.
time she turns around, she's
Yeah,
in some kind of jam.
she's so coarse. She's so great. But she has a friend named Suz, and she's supposed to be her best friend. But when she's got a job at the pawn shop, turned out to be part of an elaborate criminal scheme. She finds herself trapped between warring mobs and dirty cops and a mysterious puppet master plotting. This was so cool, the Bank of West during the Fourth of July parade. And there's so I just did a show on the Fourth of July in America with an author. And so how does this cause trouble to her? What does she ask her to do and why?
Um, well, I don't. I chose the Fourth of July because
Yeah,
when I was growing up and as a small kid, the boulevard Euclid Street was a boulevard, and it had a
yeah,
big grassy area in between, and they would set up these picnic tables for each state, and
yeah,
you would picnic in your state. So it seemed like it went on for a mile and a half, 2 miles, and then they had the parade. So I want to integrate that into this story, and the pawn shop that I described in the book was really there when I was a kid. So I put her in the pawn shop, and she gets the job, and she's actually working against her parole rules because they sell guns in the pawn shop. So she's worried that she's going to get popped by the parole, and she's
yeah.
backed against the wall by organized crime, and she doesn't know what's going on, and she has to work her way through the problem.
It happens in real life.
Yeah.
I could tell you that right now. I was asked to do something a long time ago and I refused to do it because I said, I'm going to get in trouble if I do that for you. Which I would. You have to be so careful. Now, the sad part is that she went across the street and her friend Bernie and two men, how did Bernie wind up dead? And she felt terrible because he was her friend.
Yeah.
I like
Um,
Bernie.
yeah. A lot of stuff happens in this book, and
Yeah.
I don't want to give away too much stuff, too many
No.
reveals. Other than the reader really doesn't know what's going on because Imogene doesn't know what's going on. She thinks it's one thing, and it really turns out to be something entirely different. Um, and
I couldn't put it down. I just kept reading it and go like, she did that, I would do that. She did that, I would do that. But I mean, I don't want to give away the ending, but let me tell you, that was so clever.
Oh, well, thank you.
How she got? I mean, Imogene really thinks like not like a criminal, but she also thinks like a police officer in her own mind. How am I going to do this so I don't get caught? So she has a history with the parole, and this new parole officer wants her back in jail. And
Yeah.
I wanted to smack him in the head because and he's doing it on purpose because he wants to get her in trouble. So how do you
Yeah.
deal with how do you deal with the parole officer that wants you in trouble? Because I know I've dealt with that with other officers, the same thing. And some of them were parole officers and did get the guys back in trouble.
Yeah. Parole officers are really important to
Yeah,
our society, and they do a good job. I make this one a little meaner than in real life because I needed a conflict on one side for Imogene to be dodging.
yeah. So who this was really cool because someone dies and sometimes I hear my sister in my head and I remember her saying to me before she was killed, "Oh, you're becoming a fat couch potato. Why don't you write a book?" And that's a whole suspect. That's what really happened to her. And I weigh 93 pounds for whatever reason. It's just fine. I weighed over 200 because my mom had Alzheimer's and I was eating myself into oblivion. So she's, why don't you write a book? And she was sorry she ever said that because I wrote a book about growing up in the South Bronx with her and all the stories are true. So she started me on that. So I hear her voice. So who is Ange and how does she hear her voice? Sometimes you hear the voice of somebody that's gone and they sort of let you know what you're not supposed to do.
Yeah. I developed Ange in the first
Yeah,
book,
yeah,
The Blind Devotion of Imogene, and Ange was Imogene's cellmate in state prison. And when Imogene got into prison, she was anxious and she couldn't settle down because she had so much angst about being there. She didn't think that she deserved to be there. So Ange told her that if you don't overcome this, it's going to eat you up. So she says, Ange tells her, you need to blame somebody for this. So she goes, who can I blame? So Imogene decides to blame the President of the United States and starts sending him threatening letters. That's the basis of the first book, and it's carried on through the second book, and it's going to be uh, the end of the third book, the trilogy, is when the book that she writes about it comes out. But Ange is a unreliable character. You don't know if Ange is real or not. Um, and I don't want to, still, I want to give too much away. But Ange is always in her ear, telling her what to do and giving her advice.
so there's only one more imaging. There's only three coming out.
Well,
You gotta
if
give more. Oh, you can't. I can't stop with imaging.
I could write more, but it was a planned trilogy, and the because while she's in prison, she writes a book based on what she
Uh-huh.
gets information from the Secret Service, and she writes a book, and that's going to all come to a big head in the third book. And if people like them, I'll keep writing them.
I love her. What can I say? Now, this is so perfect. You created a personality, and I love Imogene. If somebody gets in her way and they don't stop, she shoots them instead. She's just, you know, what? Why not? I mean, there are people out there that do it anyway and get away with it. And yes, yeah, seriously, she shoots shot to kill, and so what?
Yeah. Well, she gets pushed into a corner a number of
Yeah,
times, and there's only one way out usually. Um, but Imogene was the first book and the second book was some of the stories in it, uh, the side stories. My grandmother used to sit on the couch. She called it a divan, and look out the big picture window into her neighborhood. And she had conspiracies made up in her mind about all these people that live in her neighborhood. Like this guy puts his wife to bed, and then he steps out at night and he comes back early in the morning, and different things that she made up in her mind, and I don't think any of it was happening, but I just love to sit there and listen to her make up these stories, and in her mind they were real.
I love her. Now this was sad. I'm glad you included what happened with Wayne. I felt so bad for her when she told that story. I mean, and she blames us. It's sad.
Yeah, that happened in book one, but
One, yeah.
I think I retold the story for background in book two. Wayne was her husband, and that's what she went to prison for.
Now tell us about Hawthorne Street in her high school, and the other person that I liked. She got to know was Ida.
Uh,
Ida's
um,
crazy. Ida's crazy.
yeah, the one character, Thelma, I took from a real person, and she actually said those things in the book. Thelma's kind of a wild hare in the book, and she's a real person in my life. And the stuff that I put for what Thelma says, I wrote just the way it happened in real life.
Sometimes things do happen in real life, and you just don't realize they're going to happen.
That's right.
I mean, yeah, I've had some stuff I could have lived without happening in real life. What can I say? So, who is Luke and what did he try to do to get Imogene to help rob the bank? Now, that, as she was stuck between a rock and a hard place, and if she didn't do it, she might have wound up. I mean, whoever heard of a parole officer that was, well, they are guilty. I mean, if you look at the news now, they beat up people in jail now, and and they get away with it. I mean, it was just on the news here. Two police officers beat up this guy that was mentally ill. I mean, they don't even think so. Who is Luke and what happened with him?
Well, there are in this book there are the cops that are involved, and they think
Yeah.
something is happening one way, and then the parole that is pushing her, and then the organized crime that forces her to work in the pawn shop when she doesn't want to, and the whole thing is a setup for something else that's happening,
Mm.
and everybody thinks everything's going one way, then all of a sudden it shifts to the right and goes another way.
Well, I love this last chapter with Luke and Imogene. Oh, I love and what he does. Never mind. At the end, that last paragraph. Everybody, you need to get this. So, how does she learn the core of the plot? And it's July 4th, and they want her to do something. They want her to help rob the bank. But how did you create the ending? And tell my other favorite character, Stelma. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, she reminds me of my grandmother, Bertha. And she
yeah, that
reminds me
was.
of a lot of. Oh, I love Thelma. She's got guns. She's an old lady, and she just does everything. She didn't
She's
even
very
think about it.
Thelma kind of steals the show sometimes. She's very eclectic, and when she shows up, you just never know what's going to happen because the way her mind works, she goes off in different directions all the time.
She's often in another world at other time. So, without telling everybody, how did you create the ending of this one? Because Harvey's going to take longer because there's two timelines in Harvey. I got that memorized.
the The way I write, I don't write with a plot. I don't start
Yeah.
with a plot. I write a scene, and then I start with a scene, and I just move forward from there. So I have an idea about putting Imogene in a pawn shop. That was the whole concept of the book, and I wrote the book from that point. So I start setting up. I write by a process that I call the 16 precepts of writing a novel. So each
Oh,
scene
nice.
each scene has to have five things in it for it to work. So once I put those five things in it, it naturally pulls me to the next scene and then the next scene. So once I start layering in these conflicts, it's like putting them like you're using a big push broom. I push them forward and push them forward, and the story starts writing itself with these 16 precepts that I use. I like
I
right.
would love that because I need all the help I could get. I
Yeah.
started to write. There's going to be a sequel to Inverted Reality because everybody's telling me that that horror that I wrote, 26 stories, people do the one thing and the mirror takes care of you. So I started the next one, but I don't know. I'm trying to think of writing something different. I killed off a professor that actually did something in real life to me, and I killed off a pharmacist, chemist that did something real life to me. And sometimes when you write real life, it comes out better. But I have to figure out who else. I don't know. I have to think of something else. But this one, the obsessions. I love the word of Harvey Usher. He's a unique character. How did you create him? Um, chapter
Well,
one, chapter one, the one, oh, when this girl showed up, I go, holy God.
yeah, this book, again, I didn't have any idea where the plot was going to go. I just had a premise of the opening scene. And the opening scene is where an 80-year-old man wakes up in his bedroom,
Yeah,
and there's a bombshell redheaded woman in there that looks a lot like Rita Hayworth, that's almost a third of his age. And she says that we've been married for 2 years. And he goes, no, we haven't. And so that kicks off the current day plot that he has to work through what's going on at his house with this woman. And then I have a secondary uh, timeline, which is in 1963, that tells how Harvey gets to where he is in the current day. And I start way back at the beginning of the story and I move forward
yeah.
and I alternate with current day and historical. So this is really a romance, crime, historical novel all wrapped into one.
And wait till they meet both Harveys. I
You what?
mean, he's in the present, he's like one person, but I knew he was smart. And
Right,
in the back, I was like, really scary. So her role was something we won't say what she was really there for. Harvey is not senile, so how does she try to con him? And she tells him that she's his wife.
well, this was a I don't want to give up too much, but
No,
this was a
29 years old, whatever, I could give me a break. Not bad, Harvey.
yeah, this was a actual con when I was a supervisor in a detective bureau that was being used quite often. So I wanted to use it in a book, and that's how the story started. So um, she does her homework, she does her due diligence with Harvey, and so she when the police are called, and Harvey says, "Look, she doesn't belong here," she's ready for it, and she has every motivation to show the cops that she belongs there, and it just deepens the story.
Well, the police believed everything she said. That was even worse because she was really smart. Seriously
Right,
speaking. So he lives there and he calls the police, like I said, and the police don't believe a word he said. They believe her.
right,
I know when you have documentation, but then you have to make sure that it's not fake. And I guess he couldn't, the police wanted to believe her. But I can't believe that there's a young girl in her 20s would want to go with a guy that's 85. And yeah, and he figured she was after him for his money, which he didn't have,
right.
whatever he had. Yeah. So who is Esther? I love Esther. And how does she react to Rita? Oh, I love Esther. You can't pull Esther.
Esther is a character that is integrated through the historical aspect of it and the current day, and she's kind of a link, but you don't know who the relationship until the story builds. Esther, I think, is a neighbor that Harvey depends on, and was Harvey's wife's best friend before she passed on.
Well, he was married to a beautiful lady named Sylvia. Hmm. What was
Right.
her role? And tell us about her real past.
Well, again, I don't want to give too much away the book. The,
I
the
love Sylvia.
Harvey, the story I like to write most is a victim turned predator. And Harvey is back in 1963. He's an accountant, and he is not anywhere accustomed at all to a violent life. And he gets thrown into it, and he has to survive. And he does it. His motivation is to save Sylvia, who has got wrapped up with the Italian mafia. And so Harvey has to use his brains because he doesn't have any brawn, and he has to try to extricate himself and Sylvia out of a very difficult situation. And that's what the
Yeah.
secondary storyline, the historical storyline, is about.
The second part, I know. So we have Eddie, and Eddie was supposed to do something for her. And who is Gursky, and how do we know he's in trouble? And there are a lot of people that are against poor Harvey. We're going to get to the back timeline in a minute. Oh, I read that. I go like, oh my God, Harvey was a hot tamale back then. It was different.
Eddie is because the cops don't believe Harvey.
Yeah.
Harvey decides he needs help, so he hires Eddie as a private investigator to look into what's going on at his house. And Eddie is not who the reader thinks he is, and it doesn't come out till later, his involvement. But then it's a shocking revelation when the reader does find out.
I felt bad about Eddie. I liked Eddie.
Yeah. Well, the writer is supposed to um,
Yeah.
put the reader on a roller coaster. Hello?
I don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened.
He
I
got
didn't.
dark in a minute. I don't know.
I
This,
didn't touch
this,
anything.
this station. Restroom, behave yourself.
Yeah. So yeah, Eddie's not who the reader thinks he is. He's not who uh, Harvey even thinks he is. And it is sad what happens to Eddie.
Now let's go to the past. I didn't expect that as I was reading. I'm going like, wait a minute, where'd this come from? So there are two timelines. Tells about the past and why he got put down and stuck working for gangsters. That must have been fun though.
Yeah, he was an accountant uh,
Yeah.
exclusively for the Italian mob, and again, he had to evolve from a victim to a predator, and use the information that he had from the job that he had with the Italian mob. They underestimated Harvey, and Harvey really sticks it to him later on. Um, and that's the back timeline. Well, he has to rescue Sylvia and uh, hurt the mob at the same time.
Well, there's another story about something. We won't say what that is. I was like, I knew that it was she had like a double life or something, but she was like, I really love Sylvia. So who is Jackie and who is Andrew Johnson? And we'll get to Sylvia and the letters later. That was it. That was sad.
Yeah, so like I said, this is a crime, romance, historical, all wrapped into one. So the backstory shows how Harvey fell in love with Sylvia, and I had to juggle the motivation with how that occurred and blend it in with how Sylvia gets in a jam with the mob, and then how Harvey has to put a plan together. And I think it's a pretty unique plan on how Harvey takes uh, gets frees Sylvia and takes down the mob.
Now we have the past again. We have Sylvia, who was really somebody else. So how did you create that? And I liked her. I liked her as both.
Well, in this book,
Uh
nobody nobody is who they seem to be.
huh. Uh-huh.
In the current story, um, nobody is who they seem to be. And in the backstory, they start off being who they are, but then they quickly have to uh, change their identity and go on the run. So it all the backstory catches up to the front story, and the reader finds out, oh, this is what's going on
Uh,
at the end.
so now this girl is living in this house and she claims they're married. Now, when you created the past, how was he viewed in the past? And he was working for thieves. And how did they make him get into the group? Because that's so cool to work for gangsters. He had no
Yeah,
choice, but he did a good job. What can I say?
he was very good at what he did,
Yeah, he is
um,
good.
and it was very sad what happened to Sylvia, uh, and before he was able to rescue her, and then he ends up going on a trip down to the Caribbean, I believe, with another guy while he's trying to learn the ropes and how to take down the mob.
Well, everything's about money. So, what was the plan and how many people were involved? And Rita, I'm
Well,
not going to say.
Rita,
I figured out something had to be crazy with that. That was really clever at the end too.
yeah,
Poor
Rita
Harvey.
is implicated in the current plot line, and she gets caught up with some bad guys too, and so she ends up being a semi victim as well, and that all comes out at the end of the story as well.
Well, poor Harvey, he doesn't get away unscathed. Why does Esther decide to live near Eddie? And then, poor Eddie.
Well, again, that's another major reveal
No.
about Eddie and Esther and all that swirling around in the current day story. Um, but Eddie and Esther and Harvey, they get together and they start trying to solve what's going on, and they get into some pretty serious stuff. That car crash was pretty serious with the Lincoln, that kind of thing.
Well, Esther and Harvey wind up going to the police station again. But before I forget, on March 23rd, the author of Tricked will be here. How would you feel if you were 15 years old, given to a man who was supposed to take care of you, and he gets into sex trafficking and prostitution at the age of 15? Sad. On the 8th, the reason why I know everything is on Dr. George Cavuto is the foremost authority in reading. He's my reading professor from Leawood College. Yes, thinks I'm wonderful. I don't know why he does. And on April 8th, he decides the questions and the talking points. And I get to do the research and answer the questions. And I better know my stuff. I know everything about teaching reading, so that's not a problem. And why does this keep happening? I don't even know why this keeps happening. On April 14th, Dennis Palumbo will be here. And on the 29th, Michael Cowan. And on the 5th of May, Alan Jacobson with his new one. And there's a few others in May and June. Charles Tolsberg is supposed to hand me something in July, and Tess Gerritsen in August. And after that, I don't know. We'll see. I might reach. They won't let me retire. I think about not doing this anymore. But I don't know. So it goes back and forth. How would you describe Harvey in 1968? And how does he get in trouble in the present? And my favorite scene is the candy.
Well, that's a big reveal too.
Yeah,
I don't want to give that up. That's how he kind of weasels his way out of
yeah.
the problem, using candy, which I thought was very unique, um, method in extricating himself from that. Um, yeah. What was the question? I'm sorry.
How does he did something in 1968, but they want to get him for something in the present also.
Right. And that's
I
what
felt so bad for Harvey. So what?
the reader finds out, um, what brought Harvey and Sylvia to
Yeah.
Riverside from the East Coast, and um, their story is found out by the people that they were running from, 40 years ago or 50 years ago, and that all comes together at the end as well.
Now there's a character. I just opened up the book. Labruzio. How did he go? Why did he want to hurt him? I mean, really, everybody was against poor Harvey.
Well, Harvey,
And Jackie
the,
the nose. I wanted to smash his nose.
yeah, the motivation for Harvey to go against the mob was pretty strong, and then when he makes that decision to go against them, he really hurts him, where it counts, where the money houses were. So, they're angry about it, and they're still mad 5 decades later.
Now, this is really amazing because basically, in this world, I know it's money. And the sad part is that people that don't have a lot of money are looked down upon a lot of times. I don't have a lot of money, so I don't care. And then, no, and also people that want to help someone, they feel that, well, if you're older, you're retired, so what? Doesn't mean you have a lot of money. They feel that you could always bail them out. And then
Right.
this is about money. So how does Harvey come in to all this money? I'll get to Rita in a moment.
Well, all Harvey's got left is this very large, older historic house in Riverside, and that's kind of the one of the mysteries in the story, or the motivations in the story, is Harvey's house that he lives in all by himself.
Now, how did you get, I gotta find them. How did you write those letters from Sylvia? How did you create those? I cried when I read those. Oh yeah,
Oh,
they were on 218, 219, 220. And I was like, I felt so bad for her.
yeah. Um, it's just part of the story. It fit
Yeah.
in. When I get to that part of the story, I realized I need something. Some to So those 5 things the scene needs, I put in every scene. So when I get to that, I just put those 5 things in those letters. You have to endear the character. You have to set up the conflict, um, and that's how I write the letters. I go into
Um,
Sylvia's voice too.
Now I'm reading it. So the PI firm back to look into the mess that they found the feds that had reopened the gold heist from Swiss air transport, but they never got the gold. Well, back then anyway. So then we write, she writes her letter and stuff. So how does he get, I mean, he winds up somehow with a lot of money. And did he deserve this? I mean, I would love a lot of money too. The significance of the gold, yeah.
Well, the way the mob treated Sylvia, and the fact that the mob is very selfish and brutal and violent, I thought that was enough motivation for Harvey to do what he did, without people thinking that Harvey shouldn't have done it. I think what happened to Sylvia is plenty of motivation for what Harvey does to the mob.
I'm looking at this is said the last chapter, and in the current day, he's probably turned 81, and he was in the hospital, whatever, and he's a big mess. But that's the sad part, and he learns a harsh truth about somebody too at that particular point. I,
Right.
I knew I knew that there had to be a reason. How smart if he goes and wins or loses his anger? Everybody gets angry, but some people get angry to the point that they kill people. Like Imogene, I love her, and
Right.
Harvey. It's hard
Right.
for him.
Yeah. Imogene is a series, a trilogy series, and I decided to write that Obsession of Harvey Usher as a standalone, to give me a break from the. I'm actually writing 4 series now. The Dave Beckett series, which is just moving along really great. People are really loving the Dave Beckett series. The Bruno Johnson series, I got the rights back, and my agent just sold that to a UK company. So the books are going to be reissued starting in May. There's going to be 11 original books, and then in January, the 12th book in the Bruno Johnson series is going to come out, and that's a fun series too. Then I have another book called Pablo Peaches and the
Oh,
Runaway, Pablo Peaches and the Runaway Bride, that comes out, I think, next year, and they want a second book in that series as well. That'll be the 4th series that I'm doing.
you just pop him out. I have no problem popping the title.
I, I
I
just finished.
read.
I just finished my first fantasy too. I wanted to break from crime because all I write is crime, and so I wrote a romantasy, and it turned out to be 127,000 words, and
Oh God.
I'm polishing it up right now to send to my agent.
I just started the sequel to Inverted Reality, and I'm proud of myself. I wrote 1,500 words. No, I mean I killed off two people, and I'm debating on the third. And I find that if you write about something you know, you're better off. And if you write about, I learned that a long time ago. Somebody said the first book you write about what you know. Well, yeah, there was the professor that did something. There was a pharmacist that did something. And no, I was going to do a politician, but that's so boring.
Yeah, I don't agree with write
Yeah,
about what you know. I think you should write about
yeah,
characters. The character should be
yeah,
the person who drives the story. It doesn't matter what the story
yeah,
is, it's the
yeah.
character that the reader's reading for. So you just start with a character, establish the character, and let the character tell the story. That's the way I do it. For instance, I started another book called The Tuscaloosa Shuffle, and all I started with was a 65-year-old con man who wears
Uh-huh.
who wears dentures, uppers and lowers, and he he regrets ripping so many people off in his lifetime. So now he goes and tries to make amends by helping women who are being conned by unscrupulous men. And I really liked that book the way it came out. And that was the only premise I had. I didn't have any other storyline. I just started writing it. And once I started with the character writes the book.
Yeah, there's a book that I just reviewed. It was called this Secret Society of Women. And it was a group of women that were raped by these guys. And they started a society. It's a true story to get the guys that raped them and kill them, including the lady that set up the crime and was her father.
Oh,
And it was, yeah, I'm getting the strange, I get the strangest things to review. What I will say is that I got a book 2 weeks ago, and it was a murder mystery, but there was something about it, and I refused to do a review. There was something about the characters, something about the plot, and I said to the publisher the first time ever, I'm not writing a review. There's something very, very insulting about reading this.
oh,
I know
to this,
I haven't done that in ages, but yeah, if I feel that the book is not where is got something about it that I don't trust, I won't review it. And I won't put my name on something, and I won't do a stream, or and I have a whole bunch of people asking me. I won't do anything until I read the book and decide if it's something that I want to talk about.
right,
That's
right,
that's that, that's that's the hardest thing. And you don't want to say no to a publicist. And I've got a whole bunch coming up that are really, I mean, interesting books besides Tricked and a whole bunch of other ones. But Rita, Rita was married supposedly to Harvey, but at the end, you sort of realized that she really wasn't as horrible as she seemed.
right. I
I
tried to
liked her
I
in
tried to
the
redeem
sense,
her tried to redeem her a little
yeah.
bit because she was put in a bad situation as well. Kind of similar to what I tried to mirror what happened to Rita a little bit with what happened to Sylvia back in the historical timeline.
I wonder what would happen if Imogene and Harvey got in the same boat. Because he doesn't care about taking chances now.
Right. Well, he's 81 years old, and what does he have to lose?
Well, I'm looking at the last chapter, and poor Rita was in big trouble, and he winds up whatever. So the last line of the book and the letter on 269, you got to read it, people. I'm not reading that. I looked at it and I'm going like, wow, that is amazing. And as far as that is concerned, he got the goal, but sort of. We know that. So, what's next for you? And when am I getting all of them? I need good. I need good stuff to read. When
Uh,
I got this and then that, and I got Killing Breath by Phil Sheldon. That was interesting. I just finished that one, and there were a couple of all of those that are piled over there. I just finished, but the Killing Birds was really scary. The character in the book, I really didn't like her, and she goes about. They talk about her father in the past that killed people and how she might have been involved in killing a murder in the present, and she's a detective in charge.
Yeah, the dual timeline is difficult because you risk dumping the reader out. If the reader gets too enamored with the current day and all of a sudden you jump back to historical, they
Yeah,
might get angry and dump the book. And that was the risk I took because I wanted to tell what happened to Harvey. The I just finished. Well, no, the the Dave Beckett series. The third book in the series comes out this June,
oh,
supposedly this
good.
June. And then I finished the fourth book in the series, and I'm halfway done with the fifth book of the Dave Beckett series. So those are going to continue on. 'Cause I'm really having a lot of fun writing those. Something happened in book four that just really inspired me to write a number of books in that series. And Dave Beckett gets hooked up with an old time movie actor who comes in on ride along with him, and all kinds of stuff happens that I had a lot of fun writing. Um, I have the Pablo and Peaches coming out next year, and there's three books coming out. The Bruno Johnson
That's
number
my
12,
favorite.
Bruno Johnson number 12, Dave Beckett number 3, Pablo and Peaches number 1 are all coming out this year or the first part of next year, and that fantasy I hope will go. The publish that the agent will like it and try to sell it. And let's see, I owe an Imogene book for the Imogene trilogy, so I still got a lot of work to do. I write every day.
I want the Bruno Johnson book first. He's my favorite. I mean, I just pick him up and I know that he's almost like a real life person.
Well, that's
Yeah,
what.
seriously, he's like a. I'm reading. Oh, this is the other book I just had. Ted Bell died.
Oh, he
And
did.
yes, he did. And yes, you know how I know? Because I had a very unusual conversation with him when I was supposed to interview him. And I
Oh,
had given him the questions, and on the air he said, I don't like your questions. I said, then, Mr. Bell, you don't have to answer them. I will just let you talk about the book. And he hung up. He said, if you can't change the questions on the phone, on the air, I said, you know what? I understand. I didn't say a word. He died right after that, just a little bit. And Ryan Steck took over the series. So first you go
oh yeah,
watch,
yeah.
yeah. This one is called Warmonger. And it's a group of mad people that go around killing people because they feel like it or because they warrant it. And there's someone called the Silencer. Two girls called the Silence, and they never catch them. There's a whole bunch, and Alex Hawk goes through a lot, and he gets captured. And well, it's like 500 pages, and I just sat down and read it. Well, I took my time because the post office didn't bring any books, and I didn't want to, have nothing to read. It was interesting. And of course, a warmonger is somebody that causes trouble and doesn't mind fighting. So I do define that in the story. So that is good. So we have what is next for you. And where can everybody find out about all of your work? And people, if you don't get these two, you're missing a lot. Seriously. And my pharmacist in CVS texts me every couple of weeks for books. And in order to come get any kind of makeup or medicine or anything, I have to bring Anthony books. So yeah, I guess he'll definitely want these two because I have a double copy of them, so I could give him two of them.
Very
So where
nice.
can everybody find out about you and your books and everything?
You can find me at any bookstore, on Amazon, any place. Um, the Bruno Johnson series, the Dave Beckett series, the Imogene
Um,
Taylor series. Um, so I have a website, David Putnam at davidputnambooks.com, and I have an Facebook account the same way. Oh, let me see. Get my glasses. I'll write it up on the board. Um, yeah, David at davidputnambooks.com. Uh, Twitter is uh, Twitter.com/David Putnam, Facebook.com, David Putnam Books. Yeah. Email me if you have any questions. I'm always happy to answer questions about writing or reading.
And Mary friended me on Facebook.
Well, good.
Yeah, she did.
You'll have a fun time with that interview.
Yeah, and she will be on March 23rd at 10 a.m. with Mary Lou Francis, Mary Mal Francis, and we're going to talk about Tricked, and it should be an interesting conversation. And Mary said she would rather come on together so they could talk about why she said the story and how she got to write the book. The book, first of all, people, the book is fantastic.
Oh, good. Very nice.
Oh God, absolutely fantastic. And I was so honored that Mary Lou, Mary Mel sent me the book, but she sent me another copy. But thank you so much. And let me know when you want to do another one. And I want Bruno Johnson first, people.
Yeah. I'll send you an ARC as soon as I get Bruno Johnson, and ARC
Yeah.
coming out on the Dave Beckett book anytime now, and I'll send you one.
Oh, good. I am so happy.